Well, since this is the last ship we are reviewing for the aesthetics, do we want to talk about the Damma's Great Tank Spank?
I can
Yes.
pull up the rules and we can run through them real quick if you want.
Yeah, we should note that these rules aren't official just yet, but we are getting very, very close to a final draft.
We keep running into things that we want to go back and add because we think of one silly thing or another.
We
You
did
know
come
how it
up,
is.
yeah, we did come up with a clause that says we reserve the right to ban anything that we feel is not within the spirit of the rules. So just a heads up on that. If you
Or at
think
the
it's
very
cheesy,
least, yeah, we'll send it back for revision. Like, if it's the big thing, I think I'm not alone in wanting to keep like flying front siders mostly out of this, right? Just stacked heavy armor wedges and stuff that live forever.
oh yeah, those things could be super nasty.
Yeah, so I was thinking like as long as people, if you're doing reasonable builds and you're not just sending us in a decoed flying brick with a bunch of heavy armor wedges to hard counter kinetic rounds, since we're using traditional kinetic rounds here, like that kind of thing. But yeah, did you want to walk through the rules? Do you want me to walk through the rules? What would you like to do?
How about you go ahead and walk through the rules? You got the most recent copy of them, so
That's true. All right, so we've got it's still going to be 5 craft. We did update it. We want 2 of them to be tanks, preferably MBTs, so main battle tanks. We're still at just 1 aircraft per team.
mhm.
So if you do hover tanks, though, they do not count towards your flyer limit. So you can have all hover tanks and still have 1 flyer if you want it. The crafts still need to be Ashes compliant, so 2,500 volume is your limit. Learn to love beam slopes. We've upped the material limit. We've gone from 150 to 200,000. Gives people a little bit more to play with. Damma really wanted to see more main battle tanks, more chunky tanks, more big guns. So we decided more
I think
materials
it
was good.
should be mentioned here real quick that you do not have to have a flying unit if you do not want one. If you just want to go
Yes.
straight up tanks, that's perfectly fine as well.
Absolutely. And then it looks like we're going to be doing. We haven't updated this part yet. We're going to be doing somewhere between 20 to 40,000 material per team for repairs and ammo. So mats basically. We'll probably want to fine tune that number because I know 20k was meant for when it was at 150, and we might want to up it a little bit. But 20k is a lot, so you know.
Mhm.
And then materials that don't get spent on your entries get added up to basically doubling that amount. So you get more mats and ammo in reserve, if that makes sense. So if you have 180,000 mats in entries, then you would get 40,000 materials for repairs and ammo. Purpose built
Question.
rammers, not allowed. And definitely no spin block
I,
rams or anything like that.
I think we might have had a question there.
Oh, did we?
Yes. Um, I'll try to keep this. I don't want to ask too many questions on it.
You're good.
But when it comes to the spawn stick, I have like I know you said probably to make one, but would it be better to make a standardized spawn stick?
I was thinking of doing an
Not a
expandable
horrible
one.
idea.
Yeah, I was thinking it might not be a bad idea to just submit an expandable one into the tournament. The other thing we might be wanting to do is giving people a grace of 2 volumes, so 2,502 for you to put 2 ACBs on the craft, one to disable um, guns at the start of the round for about 2 seconds, and then another one to enable them. The reason to do that is if the spawn stick gets hit, it can sometimes do some funky things with physics, and we all know how forgiving Ash's terrain is when funky things with physics go down.
Mm.
So it might be a good idea to make it so that the first couple seconds are just the spawn sticks deactivating tractor beams, falling away, letting the vehicles get rolling, and then things start fighting. Because we don't want to have to restart rounds or have someone's plane get clipped into the ground and immediately detonate because the spawn stick got hit and flipped 30 degrees for a second. You
Mhm.
know,
How about this though? I plan on doing a bit of a spawn stick tutorial sometime this week. and I can make that available in the Steam Workshop if you guys want to use it for your own things.
That's a
Yeah,
great
that
idea
sounds
too.
good.
Yeah, just link it
Cool.
in the tournament chat too.
Will that work for you?
I think that's basically the same thing. Yeah, I think that's even better because it shows people how to build onto it themselves. And I can do an
Okay.
ACB tutorial for the weapon system disabling too. It's really simple. It's just knowing what the variables are again, right? Oh, so then the next one, Damma does want people to do your paint and custom colors. So try to avoid fleet colors. You're going to need to use a palette that's going to transfer over. There are no shields. I unfortunately probably got ring shields banned for everyone, so I'm sorry about that. No missile interceptors. However, CWIS is allowed. So if you want to have an APS turret doing CWIS things, knock yourself out. No Lua, no breadboard. This is all ACB behaviors. You are limited with 1 repair bot per craft. We don't want 0 repairs going on because of the low volume. And then we're debating either 1 or 2 repair tentacles per team. Right now it's 1. Might end up being more than that. We'll see.
How about like 1 per vehicle?
1 repair tentacle per vehicle? I love it. All right. Each team.
Okay.
So we'll just do 1 repair bot and tentacle. So I'll actually go ahead and do that.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so we're constantly finding things that we want to kind of update to make it
Yeah, a lot
flow
of
little bit
tweaking
better,
going on.
which has been fun. Don't get me wrong. It's just that we also don't want to release the rules and be like, oh, look back, we changed this. Look back again.
Is
So,
cram propulsion allowed? Cram propulsion.
Cram propulsion.
I don't see why not. I don't-
If you want to do it, yeah.
But remember, it can't be a ramming craft.
That's true. So you don't get to build the little cubes with the super graviton diff guns that fire themselves at opponents at 400 meters a second. None of that.
I kinda
By
wanna
those
see
rules, you
this.
can, as long as you don't hit them.
Well, up until the next few parts. So ground vehicles are limited to 40 meters a second, including hover tanks. We've kind of got 3 rough craft classifications. We've got conventionals and vehicles. You're going to have tracks, tires, traversable turrets on them with the main mounted weapon, destroyers, tractor-wheeled armored vehicles, large fixed turrets, and then hover tanks. Can't go more than 5 meters off the ground is going to be kind of the difficult one. The terrain's going to be very forgiving and very flat, so you don't need to worry too much about that. If you want to throw a couple rubber blocks on the bottom, probably not a
good
bad
idea.
idea.
Yeah. I was just saying, yeah, that's probably a good idea. If you want to go with the hover tanks, putting a few bits of rubber on the bottom probably be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Bob was he was looking at making something like
A skid, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually,
Those
I
are
kind of when I realized that the wheels can actually do that better, I skipped on the
Yeah,
rubber
just turn
skid
the
part.
wheels down to 0 friction in all direction, and they're
yeah,
like better
yeah.
skids. Yep.
I
yep.
actually have 2 questions about the materials limit, which is if your tanks are starting to hit the materials limit, can you do less than 4 tanks?
I don't think this is a maximum. I think you need a minimum of 5 entries. Were we wanting to be flexible?
Because I can easily foresee myself hitting the limit with like 3 tanks. So the resource limit.
Build,
The way I
you could
see
build
it-
something similar to the wolf spider to fill out the.
Yeah, I think we might. So there's no limit on how small a vehicle can be. I think it's going to be 5. I think we're going to need 5 craft.
Okay.
That's correct.
Because if you can put all of your resources into one big craft, the problem with From the Depths is that volume scales exponentially, not linearly. You're going to be, however more materials you can put into the craft compared to other people's ships, it's going to make you more than that amount of materials more durable and have more firepower, if that makes sense. Like a 50k material craft is not equal to 225k material craft. It should be able to kill both of them very easily without trouble. So I think letting people have fewer craft is probably not going to be a good idea.
Okay, so that being the case, would there be any consideration possibly for going up to 200,000 material?
We are at 200,000. We're 200. It's not 150. We're 2,000.
Okay.
Or 200,000. Yeah. Yeah,
All
that
right,
was one of the first things that got changed. Was we upped the material limit.
You want to just go ahead and pick up where you left off there, Amp?
Yeah, I absolutely can. I just want to make a quick side note that it's exactly 5 craft up top. Okay, so that was hovercraft. Potentially want to put some rubber on the bottom, or even some wheels, like was mentioned, because wheels are better than rubber in basically every way. There are no horizontal wheels. Was something that was covered. I think I ruined the fun there too. I think Herstmeister saw some of my Ashes builds that had the horizontal wheels for strafing and went, I don't blame him. So, and that basically covers all the ground. So now we've got the single air vehicle. Aircraft cannot go faster than 100 meters a second and are limited to a 400 meter ceiling. If they pop up above it every once in a while, it's probably going to be okay, but they're going to be getting disqualification points. So you might want to set the max height to closer, maybe 380, 350, give you some wiggle room. And then we're also making it so that aircraft just straight up can't use point-at behavior. We might permit some point-ats for helicopters, because helicopters doing bombing runs is a little bit awkward, and we get that. But we really want to avoid front-sider gunships, because they're more or less the strongest vehicle type in the entire game. And it doesn't fit well in the scope of the tournament.
You have somewhat thrown a wrench into one of my projects that I was starting to work on. It is a air superiority fighter.
If you are doing an air superiority fighter that uses point-at to do strafing runs, you're fine. I'm not going to enforce the rule there.
The speed limit and no breadboard.
Yes. My recommendation would be use ACBs for thrust vectoring. It takes up 8 more volume, but, at least you can still do it. 100 meters a second is a little bit slow for aircraft, but we want tanks to be able to hit them and not be stuck waiting for the full round timer every round because someone's got a 250 meter per second tiny little jet running around with small missiles.
Yeah.
Damma,
I'm probably gonna go with a helicopter instead because
you can make them bulkier. Oh, look at this cute little thing.
No,
Love the colors, by the way. Oh, it's got the simple cannons on it too. I like that. The Type 60s.
These grenade launchers, I keep hearing from Heitzmeister, they're pretty good with using Hesh, so...
That's interesting. So like a real slow velocity Hesh round, use it like a bomber.
Yes.
Fun.
That's something we may want to add to the rules, saying that the grenade launchers are okay. I think
I did say simple weapons are allowed.
Okay.
Yeah. Simple weapons and casemates. I've got that down towards the bottom.
BWI has a question here real quick.
What's
though
up?
I will probably still be going track. Are wheeled tanks also fine? I don't see why
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I did mention wheel tanks earlier. You can do wheel tanks. You're good.
He says, I know there's a French one that basically an APC chassis
Yup.
with a tank turret that looks kind of nice.
Yeah. Are you thinking of the guys all over War Thunder?
The MX-10, like RC.
MX-10. Thank you. I'm so bad with names. It took me like 3 months
That's
to
the one
remember
with the
my best friend's
oscillating
name in high
turret, isn't
school.
it?
That's the MX-13.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's basically six wide wheels with a real nasty APFS DS turret shoved in there.
One thing
Yeah,
about
no,
the,
you're fine doing pure tire craft, just as long as you're not exceeding the 40 meters a second.
Yeah.
We were originally thinking of doing different speed classes and based on the speed class banning different types of armor, but again, you run into the problem where someone brings an 80 meter per second, 500 volume, little slidey car in with small heat missiles, and you're going to 10 minutes every single round because nothing can hit it, right?
Wow, that's a
So
lot of
we
missiles.
eventually decided not to go in that direction because it's absolutely something I would do just for fun. So
I do plan
VTOL
on
are
using this,
allowed.
by the way, in case people are wondering. I do plan on using this little biplane for the tournament in case people are wondering.
Oh, I love it. That's great. I decided I'm mostly going to be doing my my Wars World craft. So you're going to be fighting a bunch of art craft. Enjoy.
I was going to use my Jet P38 looking thing that I submitted to Gmodism's tournament, whatever.
Oh, was that the thing you
contest.
wanted a little bit of help with because it was behaving weird?
That was the bigger one, but there's a smaller one.
Okay.
That looks more like a P38. It's
Got
like
you.
actually right sized, but it goes 104 meters per second.
Oh, you can just set a
So-
limiter on the. So set your max thrust down to like a ratio of 5 or something, and you'll be fine. So usually it defaults at like. It either defaults at 6 or 4. I forget. They've changed it a couple of times. Forgive my brain. Whatever it is, just slowly bring it down until you don't exceed the 100 meters a second, and you're golden.
You
Yeah,
could
you
also
talk about this right here, where it shows the output. You
Yeah.
can just keep cranking that down slowly till you get to speed that you like.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. That's how I controlled the Shachankan's max speed.
They find it. Sure, what I'm talking
So
I believe we had another question. Was that from Fish? Was it? Or am I thinking of the wrong person here?
no, I did have a question.
Okay,
Would
go for
would something based on the Spank 103 be counted as a main battle tank?
that's going to
Or is
depend
that
on the
just-
volume and the cost. If you're at 2,500 volume and around 50k cost, yeah, we're not really trying to. We like I said, we would prefer 2 main battle tanks, but if you want to bring 5 light tanks that just happen to add up to 200k and are just
Yeah, that's
smaller in
perfectly
stature,
fine.
do it. Yeah, yeah. There's no
I
hard
was
limits
thinking
on that.
I was thinking about its shape.
The more
because-
diverse and interesting shapes you want to bring, the better.
Yeah.
So
if you
yeah,
want them all to look different, that's fine too.
yeah.
Well, I sent Amp a screenshot from the Wikipedia article.
Let me take a look. Oh, yes. Oh my god. Yes. The STRV 103. This is another one of those craft in North Thunder that gets a bad rep. If you
love that
want
thing.
to try to make this beautiful frontal slope and put it in the game, please do. And I not only will I count it as a main battle tank, but I will gush over it because I love this thing.
We might be getting 2 of those because I have one and it's half finished. So there might
Cool.
be 2 103s.
Hey, the more the merrier. No, that's yes. I will. That it kind of fits into that weird light/medium vehicle. So I get what you're saying, but since we're not making any hard distinctions, you're fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
I was also I had a funny idea of just having the paint scheme for all my vehicles just be the Swedish flag.
There you
Dude,
go.
Yeah,
Go for it.
absolutely.
I don't know if
would
that is a
love
little
that.
too outlandish.
No, I mean, if you just want to do the good old blue and yellow, go for it. It is
I'm
blue
fine
and
with
yellow.
that. Hell,
Am I
I'm part
crazy?
Swede myself.
Art Sweden, let's go.
Yeah. Blue, yellow. I think that will look fantastic. Especially because that whole front section of the STRV, It's basically a canvas, right? You can easily get a nice looking flag on that. Yeah, love it. Absolutely encourage it.
Slope is kind of difficult to get right, looking right though. I will
Almost
say.
impossible, but if you guys pull it off, I'll love it. I don't think that the 4 meters have a gentle enough slope for that thing's sloped armor, but you can get
I've
close.
echoed them, so
So, gunships are still allowed. If you want to bring a flying battleship, like a Grey Talon's craft, airship, and have it be a one-sider with all the crams on one side, don't be stupid about the armor scheme and you're going to be okay. Does that make sense? Don't just, on the side that's going to be facing damage, don't just make it a bunch of heavy armor wedges and stuff. Armor both sides, make it a decently real, decently beatable craft. Don't make it 100 meters a second exactly bobbing up and down, left and right, all over the place and impossible to hit. We want this to be interesting to watch and fun to participate in. So if you do bring something like that, it's going to be under additional scrutiny. So just be aware, because it's so easy with airships to make things that ground vehicles just have a lot of difficulty dealing with, and we want to try to avoid those feel as bad moments. Because aircraft, quote unquote, in a game where the atmosphere appears to be helium jelly,
You're not wrong.
they're very, very strong. Where anything can fly and everything falls very slowly, and also somehow can't hit any kind of reasonable speed, but hits low speeds very easily, it's a problem. So don't be a problem and you're fine. And I think you'll know if you're bringing something that's going to be a problem, You'll feel it.
BWI's asking something about a tank destroyer and something about it being a wedge.
TD?
Saka
Okay.
103.
For TDs, if you want to put wedge armor in the front of them, I say you're allowed to. We're mostly worried
cool with
about
that.
wedge armor when it comes to flying front-siders because of the maneuverability. So wedges are a problem with front-siding airships because you can have them go 300 meters a second and immediately change from left to right strafe while varying altitude. So you add that all together and it means you can't hit it, and when you do hit it, it's ineffectual. If you're on the ground with a tank destroyer, so I guess I would say if your tank destroyer is a hover, be careful with the wedges. If your tank destroyer is a conventional tank destroyer that is on the ground on treads or wheels, you can use wedges to stop APS rounds. You're good. We're trying to prevent wedge spam from becoming a problem on the more mobile designs. So
Yeah,
if
I've
you're
had
bringing
this up
something
my-
conventional and ground hugging, you're good. And I have a distinct impression, knowing your build style and what you like to make, you were asking about a traditional tank destroyer, and you weren't thinking about making a hovercraft abomination that's varying its altitude and its
Yeah.
horizontal positioning all over the place. So I think what you had in mind is perfectly fine.
I think we should also mention you if you're trying to reproduce the behavior with PCBs, that's probably going to not fly either, because we really don't want that kind of behavior for a gunship, more or less.
Yes. So for gunships, absolutely. You can use the default circle at behavior, which does have altitude variation, but trying to reproduce the quick horizontal repositioning or varying your speed, that kind of thing. Oh, look at this. Got a little Red Baron triplane. Love it.
Yeah, it's a little old, but
Oh, the aesthetics are great, though. That's
Thank
great.
you.
So, I would say that thrust vectoring via ACBs is fine. If you want to produce a tail fighter that is trying to do air superiority, dogfighting against enemy teams, and then doing top-down strafes on tanks by using point at or ram and switching it with ACBs, you're fine. You're not
The last
fine if you're using 3 different circle at AIs with 5 different altitude variations so that you're constantly changing horizontal and vertical position on a one-sider gunship. You know, like I said, you'll smell the blue cheese in the air and you'll know what you're doing. We're really only trying to keep the egregious metacraft when it comes to flying one-siders or front-siders out. We're not trying to hit cool behavior or cool creativity. That's not what we're interested in limiting.
All right. What was the next part of the rules we were wanting to discuss?
So I was just going to run through the weapons that are allowed. APS, with the exception of diff and railgun components. Neither of those. I was thinking of maybe making an argument for hybrid diff because it requires some level of investment and risk taking, but still, for the time being, just no diff. We don't need 10-meter shells doing 50,000 damage frag alpha strikes against heavy armor. It's just too much. You can't build against it in an Ashes footprint.
Might be funny for lulz, but that's about it.
Exactly. It's too strong. Diffs are too strong. They're strong and they're disposable, and that's not fun, ultimately. Crams are allowed. No limit on packing, no limit on millimeters so far, so
Nope.
go nuts. If you want to pack up a 200,000 damage cram alpha strike, have fun. All missiles are allowed except for medium or large and huge are banned. And of course, Lua is banned. Remote guidance, fine. Laser, fine. Heat, thump, EMP, have fun. But no large or huge because they scale too hard. Casemates are allowed. Simple weapons are allowed. Autocannons are allowed. And then the typical fare. So APS, you can basically use any shell type you want. So AP EMP, go for it. AP EMP with a heat secondary, have fun. Whatever kind of wild, crazy shell you come up with while testing that you can fit into a conventional gun, you good. Banned weapons are going to be energy weapons for the most part. No packs, no railguns, no lasers, no laser anti-munition systems, no LAMs. You're allowed to use CWIS, but that's kind of the extent of your defenses.
Missile length.
No ban on missile lengths. Have fun.
Oh no.
What's the rationale behind banning anti-missiles?
Yeah, I was wondering that.
So, volume limit restrictions mean that you can have one craft dedicated to, let's say, 10 or 12 banks of missile interceptors, and you will invalidate crams and you will invalidate missiles basically up against any team that you fight. And that's it. End of story. They're just done. They will never be able to get to you because your missiles will respawn better and they will be able to take them out. We're not at a volume where it's particularly reasonable to hit high enough cram health values where your shells have a reasonable chance of surviving serious banks of CWIS. So CWIS interceptor missiles, in the context of this format and in the context of Ash's volume restrictions, are too strong. Because they are tuned for dealing with meter level munitions, if that makes sense. They are tuned for dealing with large and huge missiles. They are tuned for dealing with crams that have upward of 40 or 50,000 health. And in the context of Ashes, where we're not going to have large missiles and we're not going to have crams in all likelihood with 50,000 health, it basically means that you can stick a couple of small missile turrets on each one of your craft and never have to worry about missiles or crams. And that's, if you need to if it's just so much easier, cheaper, and more volume efficient to stick 2 small meter or 2 small missile pods on every one of your vehicles than it is to stick a functional Sea Whiz turret on one of your vehicles. And a functional Sea Whiz turret is cool and interesting and will have some difficulty with crams at this volume level. And just having a couple banks of small missiles on each craft is not interesting or particularly engaging.
Sense.
It's reasonable.
That's my take on it, at least. I don't know, Damma, did you have anything in addition to that you wanted to add?
No, I think you pretty much covered most of it. Do we have any questions before we move on?
Just I don't know how to word this. I'll just ask it later whenever I figure it out better.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely, no pressure. We're still not even quite finished fine-tuning the rules yet. I've added 3 or 4 things as we're going through it, so feel free to
we
ask
keep
whenever.
adding stuff all the time.
Yeah. So
actually,
banned
yeah.
blocks, I guess I could cover, and that would basically be it outside of the format.
Could I just do one thing here real quick?
Absolutely.
I'm going to go ahead and end the match, and I thought it could be fun
Sure.
to... I could go here into
Ashes.
a custom battle. Yeah, I probably need to go to Ashes first. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome. Had a feeling.
But yeah, go ahead and keep going over the rules there if you want.
Oh, yeah, sure. While you're getting that set up.
Yes,
So,
go for
banned blocks, no rams, obviously, no particle cannons, no laser components, no railgun components, no burst cannon simple weapons. These things are massive cheese because their weapons spawn inside your craft if your craft is closer than 30 meters to the target. So they're basically free heat, and they also cause an inordinate amount of lag. So no burst cannons, please. No steam jets, no ion thrusters, no ring shields, no planar shields, no missile interceptors, no Lua or breadboards. And I think I accidentally talked over someone. What was that?
Oh no, I just said
Okay.
I was gonna say something about the vehicles in the background, how they all look like fish, but
Yes, I love those. They're so cool. It's some of the new Twin Guard craft are beautiful.
also the Deepwater Guard Sunfish is personally one of my new favorites.
Yeah, the Deepwater Guard overhaul. I don't know if you noticed, but they put up a bunch of new bounties for Onyx Watch is getting a redesign. They're going heavy into paddle boats.
Honestly, that makes a lot more sense. I always thought that some of the things, even though they
Didn't have a unified aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I like the paddle boat. They're going heavy into fortresses. The castle look. They're basically going all out on buttresses, floating castles, and paddle wheels, and I think that's super fun. So as far as match rules, 10-minute time limit. All rounds are going to be 2 out of 3. Highest combined force health percentage at the end of 10 minutes, if both teams are still alive, is going to win, as per usual. Teams are going to be rated on aesthetics and performance. Judges are going to not be able to rate their own craft, of course. The battlefield is going to be 2K meters, so 2,000, and craft need to stay within 1,800 meters of each other. Because this is a team fight, we upped it from originally wanting to do 1,000 meters because From the Depths has problems determining how far anything is from anything else. And there's a lot of situations where one craft can end up counting down its disqualification timer while within 1,000 meters of a craft that's chasing it farther away from the other craft, but it's counting itself as being farther than 1,000 meters from a craft on the other side of the field. Or 2 craft are fighting each other and one of them dies and suddenly the other one's disqualified because they chased each other away from the group. So we wanted to be more lenient with that, again, if we look at your craft and it's got a point-at behavior and it's telling itself to stay 1,800 meters away from everything and it's just going to back itself up into a corner, we might send that back for a revision because we need to be reasonable here. But, we didn't want things getting disqualified for no reason either. And with 1,800 meters, considering aircraft, they're moving 100 meters a second, they're
yeah.
400 meters in the air. So they're basically at a disadvantage of 500 meters all the time. So they're already getting disqualified for being 1,000 or more than 1,000 meters apart functionally. So, it needed to be a little bit lenient. Teams are spawned 800 meters apart. Heistmaster's going to be making the map for the tournament as well, so big thanks and shout out there. Because the land generator for From the Depths is not fun at all. And then we're going to be trying to roll the matchups with a random number generator. I may be able to talk Damma into doing some light seeding. And we're also definitely going to be intervening to make sure that we're avoiding duplicate rounds and duplicate matchups. So there's going to be a little bit of manual interference, which I volunteer to do because it's a lot of staring at numbers in a spreadsheet, and I'm the kind of guy who likes himself a migraine. But yeah. So that's basically it as far as the rules go.
Any questions on that, guys?
Nothing on that.
Really?
Did we give the due date for entries?
Oh, July 1st was what we were thinking.
Yes. Want to give you guys lots of wiggle room to perfect your designs.
Yeah. And for me, I have to figure out something for a flyer because all of my Ashes compliant flyers are not going to be something that I want to throw in the tournament. They are
Yeah, I
very
had to
vulnerable.
really-
They are very vulnerable.
Damma, I'm looking at your stream and I noticed is one of the tank destroyers, is that a diff gun or does that actually have a internal?
I did a bunch of deco work to make it look like it's a diff gun. But it's actually got like 6-meter autoloaders in here, and this thing will pen up to like 5 layers of metal armor or 1 layer of heavy.
So this was one of the things I was thinking.
Nasty tank.
It sounds like a nasty tank. This is one of the things I was thinking might be a possible exception. This is a hybrid diff. An H diff, where you have 2 different kinds of shells loaded. Now, the thing about this is it can only fire at 1 gauge, and you have to have enough cooling and enough recoil for it to fire both types of shells at a continuous pace. So this keeps you, most of the time, from ending up with a 500 millimeter 10-meter long shell being fired. So it's a little bit more reasonable. It's also all boiled into 1 gun. I still don't know if we want it because it's still extremely strong, but it's something that I think we're going to have to play around with. I'll probably send this design that uses an H-diff over to Damma and let him decide what he thinks of it, because I know Mecha was really sad when we said we can't have diffs.
Yeah.
That would just be a ton of alpha strike, though.
Yes. The thing about the H-diff is that it's not going to fire... I'll send this design to you so you can see how it behaves. They behave differently than normal diff guns. And it's the only reason I'm even considering them.
We could look at it real quick here on camera if you want.
Okay, yeah, so this is on camera.
Yeah,
this
just go
is
ahead and PM it to me.
yeah, I'll also send you the design real quick. I'll do it after this. So this is a little art design I had. It's Yellow Comet Duster, and I was actually just running through the internals. I'll go through them again right quick since Dan is looking. It's basically got 3 direct inputs. It goes up into the craft, and then has 3-meter autoloaders in it. Actually, these might be 4s. Nope, they're 3s. And it basically means that this 402 anti-ground unit shoots 2 different types of clips, or 2 different types of frags. It's got one 20 part for the diff, which is a big AP frag head, and it shoots these about once every functionally 20 seconds.
So it's going to have a a diff, but every now and then, and it's going to shoot like the regular shells normally.
Yep. So its regular shell is a hesh. It's a squash head that it fires about.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So that's what the H diff is, and the thing about the H diff is that the direct feeds are not going to act like they do with a normal diff. With a normal diff, you're stacking cooling and recoil absorption so that it gets the shots out as quickly as possible, right? Since this is attached to an actual gun, you want it to actually have balanced cooling and recoil. So it's not just going boom 1, this reload, boom 2, this reload, boom 3. It's actually functioning like a normal gun. So it basically has the diff loaded in, it shoots it off, and then after like 20 or 30 seconds, the next one goes.
Well, I would feel comfortable with it if we could reduce the length of the shell
Okay, let's say
for the diff gun, like maybe
8
like
meter
the 4
limit,
meters.
maybe? You said how many meters?
Maybe 4 meters, somewhere between 4 and 6 at least.
Yeah, I think 6 as a diff limit would be a great idea. So hybrid diffs permitted. So yeah, that was the Alpha Strike there, about a 10k AP frag shell. Goes in through the top. I think it actually immediately disabled this gun. Yep. This is the Steel Strider's Fenrir, so it's fairly decently
Love that
armored.
thing. Yeah.
And feel free to tell Kevin that I have murdered one of his children on stream.
Doing it right now.
So, H diff, it's still nasty stuff. This craft, granted, the shells are specifically tuned to be able to kill the Fenrir. So this was one of those ones where I was obsessing over it for a while to make sure it could do that.
Fenrir has caused me a lot of trouble. I completely understand. It is very good for its price and volume.
I tend to do this where I build my craft to just beat one craft in particular that I pick out. Call it my own little bit of AC or OCD running through. So yeah, I think a 6 meter limit to the diff gives you some incentive to actually build craft using the 8 meter shells if you can stuff them in there. And it definitely takes away their super strong ability to just load a 10 meter shell into something.
No, now that you mention it, I do have a tank destroyer that uses 8 meter shells.
I have a KV-2 that uses 8 meter shells. Oh, and there was the next diff round. Another 10k strike on it. So yeah, it fires Hesh most of the time, but whenever it has a diff shell loaded up, it fires it, and that's H-diff. They're explosive. If your rounds are explosive, they are higher risk because you actually have to invest input and time into it because it's one of your main weapons, and you can't just have it be sacrificial strapped to the tap of a tank like you would with a diff gun. So I'll add it. I'll say H-diff are allowed, max 6 meter shell length. I think that sounds great.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm cool with it.
Scared.
Fantastic. That was something I wanted to talk about. Yeah, let's see, where's that little sucker? I just got done converting this guy. Here you are. Yeah, this sucker's got them nice 8 meter 0 clip going on in it.
How tough is that turret?
How do you feel about getting through this much armor?
It's got quite a bit of heavy.
Cool.
It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. It's also a very narrow profile because it's a KV-2.
Does it like to flip at all, or?
Nope. No, I'm going to have to tone it down because it goes faster than 40 meters a second, too.
I do have a tank that goes at 120 meters a second.
Wheels are ridiculous in this game, man.
Yes, they are. They are probably the most efficient means of propulsion in the whole game.
Aye, that and their fantastic armor. Some of the best armor in the game.
They're just not very volume efficient. That's what's screwing me over at the moment. where it's
You
just-
know, I actually submitted a bug report to From the Depths. They're looking at it, where they're going to be trying to make them more volume efficient. Yeah, there we go. 41, 42. I think she gets up to 45. Which is hilarious for a KV2. Look at this thing. But,
All you need is the Benny Hill theme.
exactly. I love that
one
little
is that?
chase. I had it hard stop to demonstrate that it does not flip. It down underneath here, they're decoed away, but it has roll bars everywhere. Roll
Probably
bars
wise.
are your best friend. Also, pro tip to help out a little bit: when it comes to your wheel settings, spring length is your friend. It will make your tank so much less likely to flip. You want big springs. Sometimes it depends on the craft. Sometimes you want real small, real tight springs. On this big chunk of heavy armor, it wants big springs with decent kick to it. But yeah, so wheels right now don't actually scale appropriately with their volume. It's like they basically just multiplied. So a 3x3, a 3 meter wheel is not 3 meters, it's 9. But it only scales as if it's 3 meters. And the same happens with wide wheels, are twice as bad as that. So the only good functional wheel in the game right now that functions as it should with its volume are 1 meter wheels.
Yep.
You can get no faster with no better results without using 1 meter wheels. They're the best wheel in the game. It's being looked into though. I made a list of different suggested changes after it was pointed out to me on Menti's Discord server. The one honorable mention, and please don't do this, guys. Horizontal wheels are banned, so you can't do frontal wheel armor. But please try to avoid using wheels as armor, because look at this. It's not okay.
Whoa.
This block has 40,000 health. So, be reasonable,
Save it
please.
for ships. Save it for ships.
You save it for ships. Yeah,
Yeah.
For ships, let's see, what's the best armor?
I just,
Simple weapons.
real quickly, I have
drill
one
part,
tank that
5x5 drill, I think. 30,000 at 60 armor. I give you the best armor block in the game.
May I add the
Wow.
steam drills? Because there's a bigger one.
There is, yeah, the steam drill. Where's
and
that drill
freeze.
head at? Jet steam drill. Steam drill?
I think
It's
that's
in the gearbox.
Is it in the gearbox?
Yeah.
You are right.
Oh, there it
Oh
is.
no, it's the same piece.
Well, there's a bigger one.
50,000.
Yeah,
You're
there's
right.
a-
There it is.
Yeah.
50,000. What's also great is they count as their own air gaps. This is a built-in air gap right here. Triggers heat and hesh. Yeah. So don't. Please don't. If you do, it'll probably get sent back to you. One thing that is allowed, I don't plan on being an asshole about it. These are the second best armor in the game. Be reasonable. Is all I have to say.
If you think it's too cheesy, then
It probably
it probably is.
is. Man. I'm not gonna. If you want to use these because they look aesthetically cool, or if you're really worried about AP rounds, I get it. There's not really any other solutions presented to you in the game outside of Era spam, because Era is also entirely too strong and doesn't function like Era actually does in real life. So, you know, that is one of the things. All my builds are going to be Era free, so have fun with chemical rounds. Yeah, I think that's basically it.
This is From the Depths.
That it is. It's a wonderful game. There's nothing else like it, but it still has problems.
It's buggy AF.
Yeah, man. It's
But it is also fun.
it's
AF.
incredibly fun. It's like BattleBots without needing a personal sponsor. And you get to make historical craft.
If you let people
Or-
do whatever they want, there are gonna be problems.
Exactly. The sign of a good sandbox game is that it's broken. By that metric, we're playing one of the best sandbox games out there.
Yeah.